Got Justin Hopkins from Scoop Duck. And Justin, I just want to read you a Jackson Cantwell quote from about 7 days ago. Quote, I might be closer to the end than I thought. He was speaking about his recruitment there, and he went on to say, I don't know how an OV would change that really. Then, about 3 or 4 days later, we got word that Jackson Cantwell is going to take one more official visit, and that will be to Oregon, and it will be next weekend. So it seems significant. Is it significant?
Yeah, you got to think so. I mean, I'm just picturing like a phoenix rising from the ashes, and that being Oregon and Dan Lanning. So, you and I think anymore, especially on the heels of the Nico news, anything's possible in recruiting. Anything's possible with the transfer portal. So, I would say this is pretty significant because if you're Oregon, you probably weren't feeling all that good about your chances with Jackson Cantwell. And, this definitely feels like a last ditch, last pitch sort of an effort. But, in today's recruiting, we all know that anything can change in a minute. So I think getting him on campus and giving yourself a shot to, sit down at the table and go over things one more time. And we will both assume that he doesn't take any more visits. You're essentially the last visit. So Cantwell has not been on campus in several months now for Oregon. So, for me, even prior to things kind of going there, I wasn't feeling great about Oregon's chances just because he's been taking other visits, hasn't been to Oregon in a while. And that's usually a pretty good telltale sign.
Yeah. Do you think the Oregon staff kind of went into overdrive and seeing that quote about him being ready to decide? Do you think they knew, hey, if we're going to have a shot at him, we have to get him on campus one more time?
I absolutely do. There's no question in my mind that's what Oregon did. And credit to them, right? I mean, you've got somebody that's saying that they're pretty close to being ready to making a decision, and you can, hey, just give us one last look, come check us out again. The big equation here is track and field is very much a part of his recruitment, and Oregon has leaned heavy into that. So I'm sure that, they'll revisit that part once again, as well as the football side of things. And yeah, I mean, I would say Oregon was a long shot for sure. But now with this visit, it's going to be real interesting to see if they're able to kind of come back around and take the lead or be a contender or what'll come of it.
Well, the word long shot, it's a relative term because last week Pete Nakos of On3 came out and said that there's 3 teams trending right now in Jackson Cantwell's recruitment above the rest. And he named the top 6, but he said the teams that are really in it right now, Georgia, Miami, and Oregon. So knowing that those are kind of the 3 teams, obviously you felt like Oregon was on the outside looking in of Georgia and Miami prior to this news, but now with the news of Cantwell coming in for one last official visit, how do you kind of handicap these 3 programs heading into this, what could be a very important weekend?
Yeah, I think Miami's got the upper leg right now. I think they're the team to beat, and I think had this visit not taken place, they're probably putting Jackson Cantwell on their commit list. But now, I think this really boils down to probably Oregon versus Miami here, and Mario Cristobal, offensive line head coach.
Yep.
Alex Mirabal is a great offensive line coach down there in Miami. I know those two well from covering them at Oregon. So I don't blame Jackson Cantwell for looking as an offensive lineman for looking hard at Miami. So, the Ducks have done well under Dan Lanning, putting guys into the league. Obviously, Josh Connerly is a borderline first round, early second round offensive tackle that they recruited and developed out of high school. So I'm sure they'll lean into that as well. I do think Oregon has to catch Miami in this one. I think Georgia's probably, I don't want to say out of the running, but feels like a distant third at the moment.
All right, so I want to wrap it up with this. I just connecting some dots here, Justin, doing the science a little bit, but I'm looking ahead to May 5th. I know it's Cinco de Mayo, but it's also the day that number 1 quarterback Jared Curtis commits. Do you think there's anything going on with Jared Curtis on May 5th and Jackson Cantwell saying he wants to wrap it up a little bit earlier? There's a lot of talk about 2 teams here, Georgia and Oregon, when it comes to Jared Curtis and Jackson Cantwell. Do you think at all the 2 are tied together here?
I certainly believe so. I mean, if you're Oregon, what's the best thing you can do? You can get a 5-star commitment at the most important position for a quarterback, a left tackle potentially, right ahead of it. So I'm sure if you're Oregon, you're really going to make a serious play here because it could have implications with Oregon for Jared Curtis on May 5th. And it's no secret. Oregon's kind of just been quiet recruiting. There hasn't been a commitment in a while. It just hasn't been much of a banner year 2025 in terms of recruiting, the year 2025, that is,
Yeah.
recruiting for Oregon. So, you know, I have no doubt. I know Dan Lanning's going to do what Dan Lanning does. He's just kind of waiting back there, but that would be quite the splash to double down with Cantwell and Curtis if he can manage to pull that off.
Boy, would it. Oregon fans, talk to us. Do you think there's something brewing with 5-star offensive tackle Jackson Cantwell and 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis and, of course, the Oregon Ducks? Let us know. Comment section below.